there's only so many times that we can take it seriously when you're like, oh, we're going to do it. It's going to happen now. Oh, wait. No, we're going to wait until Passover. Like, they've been able to do this for over a year, right? All the puzzle pieces are in place. They just have to execute, and they're not. Why aren't they?
The Codega is a guide and a storyteller, escorting you through the night, lighting the way, warding off thieves, ghosts, demons, and other oddities. Along the journey, his companions would often share with him the most curious of stories that he'd record in his Codex. Perhaps you just might find yourself traveling with the Codega and sharing one of yours.
Welcome, wanderers of the weird and seekers of the sacred. I'm Rye the Codega. Your ever burning lantern in the shadowy corners of forgotten truths. And tonight, we are going to dig into a prophecy soaked in fire, purification, and possibly even deception. The Red Heifer, a seemingly innocent cow, but in the eyes of the biblical prophecy and esoteric tradition, it's the divine matchstick that could spark the rebuilding of the Third Temple and usher in a new world order. Something we've heard about many times about new world orders. Or is it just a manufactured symbol engineered for geopolitical and spiritual manipulation? Now, joining me tonight is Bennett, host of the podcast Broadcasting Seeds, where deep roots meet much deeper truths. He's going to help us uncover why this rare crimson calf has captivated rabbis, governments, messianic movements, and conspiracy theorists alike. Is it divine destiny or a holy distraction? Keep your curiosity wandering and your light lit and your ears open. This one's going to graze the edge of prophecy and paranoia. All right, everyone. Again, thank you for joining me tonight. As usual, if you guys are enjoying the show, send a comment. Give me a throw me a 5-star review on Spotify if you're enjoying the show, and reach out to me. I'd really like to hear from you guys. Even I don't care if you don't have an experience. Nothing. Just say, hey, I really enjoy the show. I really enjoyed this episode. Let me know which episode is your favorite so far and why. All right, guys, before we also one last thing is if you are tired of all the commercials and all the interruptions, you guys can go check out my Patreon. The link is down below. I have unfiltered, unstopped, no commercials in my Patreon. So, for a price of a coffee, you guys can go there and listen to it all free and support the show. All right, without any further ado, I'm going to bring Bennett to the stage. Bennett, welcome to Codega's Codex of Curiosities.
Hey, Rye. Thanks for having me on, man.
Yes, it's awesome to have you on. It's been a while. I think I can't remember the last time you were on. You came on for one of my lives a while ago.
And then you were on my show. So
yes,
yeah. It was almost a year ago. Well, the live was almost a year ago.
That's what I was thinking. Yes, yeah, exactly.
Which went by like that. So
it really did, actually. It's like
this last year's gone flying by. So
yes, I know. I'm like, what? My podcast is over a year already, and yours as well. So congratulations on that.
Yes, you too.
It just seems
congrats on the awards.
Thank you. Yes, you. My multi-award-winning podcast. I can brandish that kind of title now, which is it is
award-winning podcaster.
Award-winning podcast. Yeah,
just a good resume builder, man.
That's exactly what I was thinking. All right, Bennett. So you have been on my show. I've been on your show, but why don't you tell my listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself and where they can find you?
So, my name's Bennet Tanton. I am the founder and host of of Broadcasting Seeds podcast, where we talk about a little bit of everything, kind of like on this awesome show. A little bit everything from biblical prophecy all the way to conspiracy theories and everything in between, Sasquatch and all the things, right? So, that's really kind of what I do. I mean, I'm a military veteran. That's my background. That's not my only background, but I've, That was one of my big things. I was a police officer for a while, and then security work, and then I got away from all of that and got into mental health and worked with veterans with mental health for about another decade, and now I'm kind of doing this.
Now
Not
you're doing
full-time,
this.
but yeah, basically. But yeah,
That's quite the life. You've lived many different lives within one life.
yeah, for sure, absolutely. Covered a lot of country, covered a lot of ground. Um, Lived overseas, all the things. It's been a blast. I'm also a father, 4 daughters, and married for 20 plus years. So got that experience as well. So
That's a whole other
yes, it is.
whole other thing. Yeah, I understand that. Not I only have one daughter, but and she's fantastic. But yeah, that's a whole other job onto itself.
Absolutely.
So I reached out to you because of this Red Heifer, this biblical prophecy. So,
Yeah.
why don't we start at the beginning with this? Like, where do we start? And I'd love for you to take it away because the only thing I know about the Red Heifer is that it's a thing in the biblical prophecy, and I've watched a movie where they had this Red Heifer. It was a prophecy of sacrificing a red heifer and
Yes.
bathing in the blood or the ashes. Yes.
Yeah. So really, like a quick synopsis of the history of the red heifer, in essence, is that the red heifer shows up in the Bible in Numbers. Oh my gosh, Numbers 19. And that's where God gives Moses and Aaron a very specific command to find a flawless, completely red young female cow with no blemishes, um, no yoke marks, and sacrifice it outside their camp. And then from that, they get the ashes from that sacrifice and they're mixed with water to create a of like a ritual purification capable of cleansing someone, also the tools, um, all these, the knives and whatnot for sacrifice, right? So it's basically to purify and cleanse someone who had come in contact with death. All right. So this was essential for keeping priests and people ritually pure, especially for temple service. And according to Jewish tradition, uh, there's only been like since the beginning, there's been 9 red heifers that have ever been used throughout history, right? The last one that was sacrificed was just before the Second Temple was destroyed by the Romans in 70 AD. And since then, so 2,000 plus years, no red heifer has been found that met all the strict requirements. That was, and that's why the red heifer doesn't really appear until modern times. One that's actually inspected and accepted would make headlines, right? Because in both Jewish and Christian prophetic circles, that cow represents more than a purifying tool. It represents the return of the temple, like the third temple can be built, and for Christians, the beginning of the end. Essentially, it's kind of like this is why we call it
This
the
is the
red heifer
kickoff.
prophecy, right? The kickoff to Armageddon, or to tribulation, I should say, right? Because it allows them to build the third temple, and then everything that goes along with that. With people think that it's the hearkened, it allows them to start sacrificing animals again, to build the third temple in general, which also harkens to the Antichrist.
Okay.
So
Okay. So you're referencing the third temple. Talk to me as if I have no idea what the third temple is. What is the third temple in relation to this all? Like, why is it
so
the third temple?
so the third temple really, well, we have the first temple that was the first and second temples that were destroyed, right? And we have the current Temple Mount in Jerusalem, which happens to have a mosque. on it right now, right? And everyone knows the Wailing Wall on the side. That is allegedly one of the retaining walls of the Second Temple, right? So the idea is if they are able to build a third temple, that this will there's some messianic or some of the Jewish prophecy says that actually the Messiah will sacrifice the red heifer, this red heifer, and it's the 10th red heifer, right? On the Mount of Olives, which is facing the exact spot where the ancient temple once stood. It's across from it. And there's this organization called the Temple Institute. Let me find my note real quick on that.
Yeah, for sure.
But the Temple Institute, where they're kind of hearkening this along, I guess is a great way to put it, is they really want this to happen. Now, a lot of people are really rooting for this to happen, especially Christians. And the problem that I see with that is you're hearkening the Antichrist to come back.
Yes, that's what it sounds like. You're
because it connects end times prophecies, with all this stuff, but the rebuilding of the third temple is seen as a prophetic sign tied to the return of Jesus. And I think that's why in a weird way, they kind of look at it as they're hearkening back because everyone wants Jesus to come back.
True.
Right?
Fair
the second
enough.
coming.
Yes.
Right? And then you get twisty, and I'm not going to head down this road yet, but that's when you get twisty with like little C's and stuff.
Yes. Yeah. The little season, that's something I have not gone into.
Yeah.
I know about it, but I have not gotten into it.
But if you believe in prophecy, like and I'm not necessarily, prophecy is a roadmap, then the red heifer is a major mile marker, right? No ashes means no third temple, no antichrist, no desecration, no second coming timeline kicking off. So this is the way some people look at it. And then it really does signal a shift in Jewish readiness for temple worship, which is a different animal. So you asked about the temple being built, and really it's just about building the third temple, and that harkens back there. They think it's a sign that their Messiah will come. And it is, because their Messiah is Jesus. But
things happen before that as well.
But they don't see it that way, right? So there's so much stuff that happens before that. And that's the whole, revelation and everything with tribulation, the tribulation and whatnot. But beyond that, as a shift in Jewish readiness, the Temple Institute is actively preparing all temple elements, right? I mean, they've already got the priestly garments, the Levitical. They've got guys and rabbis already trained to do a lot of the stuff. There's Levitical training and sacrificial instruments already made. You can go online and see all this stuff if you go to the Temple Institutes. And the red heifers that they have right now, because we haven't talked about that yet, but in 2022, there were 5 red heifers in Texas that all fit the criteria of the red heifer, or they would be eligible red heifers. Now they sent a whole bunch of rabbis over. The Temple Institute, along with other, rabbinical institutions within Israel, sent folks over to inspect these heifers up and down and looking for, any blemish of white hair whatever, right? And they came down to these 5, and they sent all 5 of them from Texas to Israel. So
Sounds like they're pretty committed to fulfilling
and
this prophecy.
they paid a pretty price for all of them too. But it's literally a breeding program. That and these ranchers in Texas, they're Christian farmers, and they are aiding and this breeding program for red heifers. So there's some people that are really serious about this, you know. And so right now, it's hard to find good sources on the current situation, other than I think we were down to 3 heifers still being
Considered.
And I think now it's 2, but then I think there's even, as of May, which is almost 2 months ago now, there was question on whether they were still, but I think we're split, no pun intended, we're splitting hairs, literally. And I think what it is, it's like, it's as same in the Christian faith opinions. We have so many different opinions about what is what, right? And Judaism is no different. So what does that actually mean? Does the heifer have to be born in Israel? Does there's all these different things where they'll heap all these criteria on things, and certain rabbis think this and certain rabbis think that. So it muddies the waters. Then you also have all the political stuff going on in Israel with Hamas and now Iran and all these things. Is like, do we really want to tap off building a temple, because we would have to destroy the Allah Asa Mosque that's on the Temple Mount right now. And allegedly that's where Muhammad ascended to heaven.
Oh, geez.
So it's like the second holiest site in Islam.
Exactly.
Second. It's one of the big spots. And so you can imagine the firestorm that would literally that would tap off, right? So that's kind of what this is about. Just a real quick.
You ever think? Sorry, just spitballing here. You ever think that war with Iran possibly was to, hey, send some missiles? You know, under a guise of we're at war, send some missiles this way and destroy this temple.
Right? Like, could we just launch a couple of those at Israel or at Jerusalem instead? You know,
just let it land in there and oops.
I mean, you never know. There's all kinds of theories that you could go down with that for sure.
So do you feel like sometimes, and we were talking about this earlier about like feeding into superstitions or into some sort of prophecies or into some sort of narrative, like with this one, do you believe that, like, I don't know, that they're, I don't say orchestrating it, but they kind of are. You know, it's kind of like, okay, we're going to check all these boxes because this is what's supposed to happen, instead of just let it happen naturally. Because I feel like prophecies should actually happen naturally without you having to like consciously, okay, we're going to go do this now and they're going to do that now. I don't know.
I mean, besides finding a perfect red heifer, like this is. I mean, there's several other factors preventing the sacrifice as well. We just covered some of them, but it's you're literally talking about there's some serious issues with the priesthood or the rabbinical stuff, right? And that, how do we say, like rituals have to be performed by a priest who is ritually pure, meaning no contact with the dead. Okay. So it's like, number one, which is nearly impossible in modern life if you think about it, right? Um, so even flying over a cemetery on a plane technically disqualifies somebody, right? So there's descendants of Aaron. Like this is how do we DNA? I don't know, but somehow they figured out that these folks are descendants of Aaron who have been identified through genetic testing and trained by this Temple Institute. But it's like they're taking this so seriously, so it kind of ashes like the logistics of all this stuff is ritually. It's not just about burning a cow. I mean, it requires cedar, all kind like special wood, uh, some different types of flowers, right, and yarn, scarlet yarn, and it's all mixed precisely, right. Anyway, not only that, but the political and legal concerns are astronomical. I just don't. They want this to happen, but I don't see
Yeah,
how
yeah, it seems like certain groups are trying to engineer its
they
outcome, maybe
absolutely
for
are.
like political and spiritual leverage.
Agreed. Yeah, it's I mean, the way that I look at it too is I don't. This is where you kind of get mixy with the Jewish faith and Christianity. Um, Christianity, we don't need a sacrifice anymore. We don't need any sacrifices. Jesus already did that for us.
True. Yeah.
He did that for the world, but
Yes.
not everyone can see that, or they don't want to believe that. Right. So that this has been one of my biggest things is that you were causing all of this heartache and craziness and money and just stuff over something that's not necessary. Now, of course, people have to believe that, right? But how do you make them believe that, or how do you can't? I mean, all you
If
can do
you've
is
been raised and it's for generations believing this, the generational type of I don't want to say generational curse, but just generational
yeah,
belief or this idealism to try to break free from that is it's not impossible, but it's extremely difficult.
right. And I mean, Christ is the once for all sacrifice. What
Yeah,
do we need to do anything else
one
for?
and done.
One and done for many Christians, right? I mean, but
Yeah,
there's still Christians that I don't know if they want to return to animal sacrifice or what, but it's this is all part of the prophecy as well, right? Or the tribulation, and that they'll bring sacrifice back to the temple. I mean, we hear about it, right? And then the Antichrist halts that, right? And you just it gets so deep so fast. So, um,
and there's so many speculation on who the Antichrist is. I know everyone's like, "Oh, Donald Trump is the Antichrist." I'm like, no, he's not, because the Antichrist is supposed to be someone that
right.
everybody loves and adores, and
I mean, I also look at it as like prophetic speculation, and this is kind of touching on what you were talking about. Um, it's distracting from present. It makes people undisciplined, frankly. It focusing on what's coming can lead people away from the here and now, and caring for the
yes,
poor, caring for the living, right? Uh, Loving your neighbors, building up the church. If you go to church, building your relationship with Christ
and
at the
and,
end of the
and
day.
it's funny. So it's kind of like making you sit back and like, okay, let's just watch this prophecy take fold, and I'm not going to take part in life. And which is funny, ironic, how we were talking about QAnon earlier, where I was uh, I was saying, their catchphrases, where we go one, we go all, but the second one, which is, trust the plan. So make sure you guys sit around and do nothing and just let everything unfold before you. Don't be a
Yes,
player in your life or in your
yes,
world. just sit back and let everything else happen and unfold before you. Like we have to stop being viewers. We have to start being participants.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, I'll touch on it just a little bit, but there's differing views on prophecy, right? And not all Christians believe in a literal rebuilding of the temple. Because some of them believe that the temple's already come and gone. Like the amillennial and preterist views see much of the end times prophecy as symbolic or already fulfilled. And people are like, what do you mean? Like little seasonists believe in a terms that Satan was, the story. Satan was bound
It's
after,
already gone through. Yeah, we're
yeah,
already
and
through
that
all that.
Satan was bound at Christ's resurrection, right? The millennium, the church age, and after that, this age, Satan is released for a little season, and that's what's said in Revelation 20:7-10, right? To deceive the nations just before the final judgment. And a lot of people think that we're actually in the little season, and that tribulation and that stuff has all happened already.
Rapture already happened. I know, like
Yes.
some people believe that, and I've tossed this idea around that rapture already happened. And when people talk about like the orphan trains, and they talk about like
Yeah.
Tartaria, all these buildings were there before, and we found them. That's why they're called. That's why they're founded. The building was founded, not
Founded
built.
in 1865, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was rapture happened, and we just discovered everything after we were left. We were the ones left behind.
Yes, exactly. So, um,
And I'm not saying I'm not saying I
I,
buy into that. I
and
just I'm all about throwing out these wild ideas. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And that's what it's about, right? Broadcasting seeds, planting seeds, whatever. Um, uh, so I, I kind of look at, for me, um, I'm not really a little seasonist. I don't think so. I
You don't
just,
buy into it.
no,
Yes.
I don't. No, I mean, there's some really good, points brought up about it, but I, really, I, I'm going to say like Ed Mabry, you know who he is.
Yes, I
Um,
was just about to say, Brad from the Waking Podcast had Ed on recently, and they brought that up a little
yes. And
recently. Yeah.
he actually wrote a book, about it, and it's pretty compelling. For me, it is. Absolutely. I mean, I've read the scriptures, and I see the evidence just isn't there. I, I mean, the one of the biggest pieces for me is like, okay, so you're telling me that yes, the temple was destroyed in 70 AD. There was a battle around Jerusalem, but you're telling me, Jesus, what I would say is right now, as per history, and what they'd say is, well, history has been changed, but as per history, we lost in 70 AD. We lost that battle, right, to Rome. We didn't win. Jesus didn't win. I mean, Jesus isn't going to lose. So explain, and there's just no evidence of it to me. Um, Not with the geography, not with a lot of the stuff, but that's not what the show's about. We don't really want to head down that road, but it all does tie together. It all rhymes. So why are we watching cows in Israel when
Fair
the
enough. Yeah.
when the Lamb of God has already fulfilled the purification rituals forever? That's what I say. So,
I think that's a great way to leave it. And like this. So the red heifer symbolizes possibly a start or a trigger point in
it's
Judaism.
absolutely a trigger point.
Yes, and it's about purification, right? This is about purification, whether it be of everything. It's a trigger, but it's all about purification. Now, I'm sure I've talked about this so many times. I'm sure I brought it up to you. Is like the movie Branded, and for those who haven't seen it, this is a Russian film. called Branded.
You
And
brought it up to me. It was
yeah, have you seen it? Did you watch that?
I wasn't able to watch the whole thing, so
Okay, okay, yeah,
I really want to though.
it's a long movie now. Yeah, so like they have a red heifer, and it's used in a like surreal ritual that grants this man the ability to see the manipulation around him. Okay, so like they
Okay,
what it does is he goes through this ritual. He has to wait. He gets a prophetic dream, and he gets like this instructions of what to do. So he waits till like sundown, and when the sun goes down, it like lights up this one cow. This one cow was white, but as the sun goes down, it turns all red, and he's like, "There, that's the cow." So then he sacrifices the cow in this tower. He builds this tower, sacrifices it within this tower, and then burns the tower down, and then bathes in the ashes of this there.
yeah,
And
right,
after that, he has purified himself of all the manipulation around him, like I was saying. So
right,
when he goes into back, like he was out in the boonies, we'll say, he goes back into the real world, and that's when he starts to see products and manufacturers and everything like that. They all have like these creatures, these beasts, these entities that are like these huge entities. So let's say like the one, it wasn't called McDonald's, it was called like the burger or burger. And it was this huge kind of like really creepy looking blob. And when people were craving it, they had this craving, there would be like the smaller one that would be on their body and would grow bigger and bigger. And it would be like this pull for them to like, I need this. I need to go get this burger. I need to go get this burger. And once they would eat that burger, that lust or that primal need would
yeah,
go away. It would kind of it would start to, what would happen actually is it would break off, float up and connect with the larger creature beast, empowering it even more, making it stronger. And then the person then would be left with just like a little thing left on them, that would eventually start to grow and grow and grow again. It was, yeah, it
wow.
was like this gluttony. It was all about this gluttony and greed. And it was a really interesting show. It was really long. It was really interesting.
It's crazy though that they had the red heifer purification though, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I guess they
that's
say he built this
bizarre.
tower. I would say he built the temple. He built a
Yeah,
temple.
right. I, mm. Yeah, I mean, there really isn't much. I mean, there's just not so much to talk about this red heifer. I mean, it is
That
what it
is
is.
what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and part of the deal is though is that it's been, and we talked about this earlier too. We brought it up with QAnon. We brought it up with some other things as well. Is like there's only so many times that we can take it seriously when you're like, oh, we're gonna do it. It's gonna happen now. Oh wait, no, we're gonna wait until Passover. Like they've been able to do this for over a year, right? All the puzzle pieces are in place. They just have to execute, and they're not. Why aren't they? I mean, it's not simple, right? Um, it, it seems like, well, I guess it is simple, but it's not easy because there's so many other factors, right? So why aren't they doing it? I don't know, and I don't have good answers. And there's multiple, like if you know who Mondo Gonzalez is from Prophecy Watchers, and this is what he's written books on this stuff, and he's kind of at a pass too, like what are we doing? I'm actually having him on later this month, so
Oh, cool.
I'll dig into that as well.
I think that'll be amazing. Now,
But I think we're all just kind of at a standstill now. Like
yeah, because
I did a
nothing's
whole
really moving forward with it now. Like, sorry, keep going on that one, Bennett.
I did an episode not that long ago talking about like the perfect time would have been right around in March. Just if you were to follow, if you were like a prophecy person, right, a prophecy watcher, like the symbolism of certain dates and the symbolism of certain festivals and feasts around Passover would have been perfect days. They're perfect days, but I don't know.
Okay.
So what are
Well,
we
I
waiting
I
for?
have some more questions about the red heifer, though. If we wanted to just
Yeah,
let's dig a little deeper. So, do you think there was any evidence that the red heifers are being genetically engineered? Did they do that, or was it just strictly a by the books breeding program? Because, like, if they're genetically engineering these, that just throws in a whole other kind of.
yeah.
I think it brings in like the Luciferian side of things,
I
you know, where it's
And
this.
that's a good question, and I'm not positive about the where is it? About the ranch that's doing it down in Texas. I'm not sure that they're genetic, like traditionally. I think they're selective breeding,
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
but there could be some cloning involved. There could be, you know,
Yeah, and that's something that's not talked about much anymore. We had a
Dolly the
lot of
sheep.
like
We're far
yeah,
from that right now.
yeah, like Dolly the sheep, and then that was it. We know it never really ever came up more, other than we're trying to bring back other extinct species, and that's a little bit of cloning where you're bringing back like the dire wolf, and we're, something along that line. But we don't talk about cloning anymore at all.
Selective breeding.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
so what?
So they use selective breeding methods, not genetic engineering or cloning. Well, this is what they say at least, right? But can we really believe? I don't know. I'm just they're
They
saying
fair enough,
the
fair enough.
proverbial they to increase the chances of producing calves. Now there's also breeding programs in Israel too. So there's a lot of people trying to make this happen, right? I mean, if we do talk about cloning though, there's there's animals now cloned. I think even in our food supply, and you get on a slippery slope. So
Yeah, I think it's a very dangerous time and place right now, especially when you're eating um, large fast food. We'll say, even though I was talking about
oh
fast
yeah,
food before, I, is it just to fulfill their quota of how much meat or alleged meat that they need, or is this some sort of other nefarious reasons for doing this? We're going to get you to actually eat, lab grown people meet or
well now
something
they have
like that. It's
right. Like so, what does that bring on? Right when like if we were to eat people, I mean, what was it? Not that long ago, they were saying McDonald's has human DNA in it or
yes,
something. Uh,
exactly.
so who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, that's pretty awful. But I really don't eat fast food anyway. I just
That's good. That's
I
good.
can't go there.
I like. Luckily for me, where I live,
There really isn't, right?
there really isn't. Yes, like you know what, which people and even myself, I find amazing. There's no McDonald's in the. I live in the capital city of the state, and
Yeah,
there is zero McDonald's. There is Burger Kings, there is some Carl's Jr., but not many, because real food is so much easier to get and much
yeah.
cheaper as well.
Well, at least Burger King, at least the Whopper will mold.
True.
Did you
That
ever see that commercial?
I saw that where they have the McDonald's and then they have they put it up against other burgers, and McDonald's, it just kind of shrinks a little bit, but it just stays
Yeah,
the same. Like
it's like
there's
it gets petrified. Like well, you remember back in you're old enough to remember Super Size Me, the documentary
oh yeah, for sure.
with
Yeah.
Morgan Spurlock, who is now what? Didn't he pass away? I think he
He
did.
passed away. Yes.
So but I'm not saying McDonald's did it by any stretch of imagination,
Not
but
saying it, but
not saying it, but
maybe.
it
Yeah.
probably didn't help. I
Yeah. It
remember
didn't
after
help.
that podcast, everything's a podcast. After that documentary, it was he was sick.
He had some health problems.
He
100%.
did.
I think his kidneys were failing him or along
And
that
his
line.
liver was all messed up. So
Jeez. And speaking of cloning, there was the so 96 was Dolly the sheep, okay? Then we had
yes,
2002. This is the last kind of cloning news we've ever heard, was the company Clonade, which was linked to the Raelian UFO cult. that claimed to have cloned the first human baby, though no proof
Right.
was ever provided. So,
Yes, I forgot about that.
yes, that
That's
was
scary,
that
right?
is extremely scary, you know. And it's
Well, and
like,
now we have the dire wolves and the cloning attempts so far of uh what is the name of that company that's doing mastodon? They're doing
oh, the
mammoths.
mammoths. Okay, okay.
Uh, what
I,
is
I
it?
I thought there was this cloning going on with like mammoths that they were
Yeah,
working on.
hold on, I've got it. I just got to pull it up.
Like, this reminds me of the, what is that, the movie The Sixth Day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, where they're doing the cloning.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, and
Colossal
because,
Bioscience. That's the name of the company,
okay,
and they have actually
CBS.
they're again. It's kind of like the dire wolf. They're not technically cloning.
Yeah.
Like they didn't
Yes,
technically clone of. They didn't make a dire wolf. They made it's a designer wolf
it's a
that
designer wolf.
that mimics a dire wolf, right? And what it really looks like. So they aren't technically cloning a woolly mammoth in a Jurassic Park sense, right? They're taking fully intact mammoth genomes or living cells instead, and they're using CRISPR technology and putting it into, you know.
Yeah, the CRISPR. That's a yes.
So anyway, I mean, we could go down a whole rabbit hole with that, but because they have a giant facility, and if I'm not mistaken, it's in Russia, a couple $1 billion facility to work on this stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And I think it is in Russia, but yeah. There's speculation that there's actually woolly mammoths still alive.
I've heard that. I've heard that in like Siberia or
Yeah, and
yeah.
that what they're doing is just kind of like this is the way they're going to unveil that. Oh, we produced this woolly mammoth, but it's going to be grown already, right?
Oh, in
Do
that.
you know Cryptids of the Corn?
Yeah. Yes.
Great podcast. Like those guys, he's all into this. He's a biologist.
Okay.
So yeah, man, he's way smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. But yeah,
Yeah. It's quite interesting. Yeah. So I think they actually cloned, or they created a woolly mouse.
a
Actually,
woolly mouse.
yes. So they to see if they could do it, instead of doing jumping right to the mammoth, they actually went with the colossal woolly mouse. And
Oh my
uh,
gosh.
yeah, they were able to bring these rodents around, and the reason they did that is because to demonstrate the viability of, like, transferring mammoth genes into modern animals. So that's kind of what they did. They were able to, create these chimeras, so to speak.
What the heck? And I heard that they were working on saber-toothed cats too, but
Of course,
don't yeah, some
let's
real like
bring back
Jurassic.
actual, yeah, let's bring back
Now,
predators to humans.
right?
Yes.
What would that be called? It wouldn't be Jurassic Park anymore. It would be more like
Megafauna?
yeah,
No, that
like
would be not
the
megafauna.
Pleistocene Park or something like
Yes,
that, right?
exactly, exactly.
So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is fascinating. I don't know. Are we running out? Do we have we hit our? I don't know. Is there any more of the red heifer? Any more
I
things that we can
the,
talk about on that? Is that,
I mean,
did we
it's
beat that
kind of
horse a little too much?
again, it's kind of one of those things like because we're at such a standstill with it doesn't have any more legs, man.
Okay.
And
Well,
it's one of those things like I'm like, you know, I, we can talk about what we talk about, but it, without being repetitive, other than that, I mean, you can literally go watch these red heifers online.
really, they have like
Yeah,
webcam set up so you can
yeah.
just.
So there's like the Temple Institute website. I'm not promoting them or anything, but they're not a sponsor of the show. But they've got these red heifers, and they are babying them. They're taking care of them, and some people really want this to happen. It's like, but are we at a point now where everything's disqualified? And do we need a new breeding cycle um, to bring them on to fulfill this prophecy that, again, even with me in my heart, I don't think it's necessary, but
Yeah.
who am I? I'm just one person.
Well, I have a couple questions, before we wrap this up. Then it's, when did you hear about these red heifers, and like what drew you in to kind of go down that rabbit hole?
Really, it was back in like 2023, so like 2 years ago, when they really were starting to be like, hey, we've got some candidates here, because uh being in this space that we're in, this was prior to my podcast kicking off, but I've been following this stuff for years, right? And really what it was just one of those other tick marks of prophecy, like, oh, like this could happen, like this is getting real. And now literally we haven't seen a eligible red heifer in 2,000 years. There were some that were back in the 40s, 50s, and then part of the thing was that Israel didn't exist until, the 50s, right? 50s. And then, with that being said, I think there were some breeding programs going on, and maybe there were some candidates in the 80s and 90s, but it all fizzled out until 2002, where it really this ranch in Texas really took a hold of this program and said, "We're going to do this," and they had 5 of them. And that's the thing that kind of like just threw me out. I followed it like religiously. And then you can only, be like, why aren't why isn't this happening? And I've been doing that now for over a year. So
Just kind of like waiting. Like, why?
frustrated with the whole thing. Like it's either, and there's always, it's always something the can gets kicked down the road.
Yeah, a little
Not that I
further.
want it to happen, but I
Yeah,
can't control whether it happens. So I'm going to watch. I'm going to eat
of
popcorn
course. Yeah,
and
exactly.
watch. Right. So I was hoping that before we did this episode, that something
Something would
would
come up.
happen. Especially with everything that happened with Iran, and it's like, oh my
Exactly.
gosh, is the mosque going to get blown up? Is something going to happen? Blah blah blah. Or is it just like them getting to a point where Israel's like, you know what? Just do it. What's the worst that can happen? World War III? We're already in it.
Fair enough.
Which is awful.
Yes.
And that's not actually how I feel, but I'm just trying to get into the mindset of other folks. And
No, fair enough. It's the way things have been going. You
you
never
really don't.
know. No, exactly. It's like, yeah, that's what we choose. We choose that. Now,
Right.
does the temple have to? This is the technicality. Does the temple
Yeah.
have to be on the mount?
So hang on, let me find that spot. There is a legal concern, secular state. So we got the political, spiritual pressure. There was a spot, we're revealing the third temple, prophetic sign tied to the return of Jesus Christ, blah, blah, blah. And I think there's again, I think there's debate over that as well, right? Does it have to be right here? And I think that's kind of unanswered. And I think some say yes and some say no. And it's one of those things, like, I swear that the Temple Institute literally has this thing prefabbed already, like a manufactured home.
Like, just
Yeah,
boom,
like you
pieces,
can
go,
look,
go,
and
go.
they literally have. So here is a piece of twisty thing that you'll like. We kind of talked about Donald Trump earlier, right? and he is on a coin. It's got something to do with, there's like the third temple on one side, and then there's his face. So it's the third temple coin. Typically refers to a commemorative coin of collectible coin that symbolizes the anticipated third temple of Jerusalem. So yeah, it literally has Trump on one side with like a menorah, and it's bizarre, man. It really is crazy.
Okay,
Prophetic
yeah,
process moving the American embassy to Jerusalem. It's him and King Cyrus are on this coin together.
yeah. Trump's face to be featured on newly minted Israeli coin.
The original half shekel Trump-Cyrus temple coin. Cyrus Balfour Trump Declarations 1917 through 2017. And it's the Trump-Cyrus coin, celebrates the divine orchestration of historical and modern events that align with the prophetic vision of Jerusalem's redemption, featuring Donald Trump and Cyrus the Great, alongside references to the Balfour Declaration, and historic Trump Declaration of 2017. This coin, which is the peace treaties that he helped do, right?
Okay, yeah.
The coin symbolizes the unbroken thread of leaders chosen to fulfill God's will for the Jewish people and the holy city, embellished with the image of the temple and the menorah. This coin is, yeah. So it's got Trump and King Cyrus the Great on one side, and the other side has a picture of the temple.
That's interesting. Cyrus the Great. Why is Cyrus the Great on there?
Right. Well, it's got to be, right. Isn't he Iranian?
Yeah, he's the
Or
founder
he's
of the
Persian.
Archaemenid Empire, the first Persian
Yeah,
empire, and one of the
right.
largest empires in ancient history, known for conquering Babylon, Lydia, and Media. But instead of ruling through terror, he pioneered a policy of tolerance and
Right.
multiculturalism.
Yeah. So they're looking at them as like the great peacemakers.
Oh, and this is interesting. His tomb at Pasargadae in modern day Iran still
Uh,
stands.
so there you
Why
go.
do
It's
they
so
have
weird.
a kind of someone from, like, I don't want to say he's Iranian, but someone like
Well,
that's interesting.
I mean Persian, but I mean, come on. He is a revered figure in Persia, which is modern day Iran. So yeah, it's just
Wow,
weird, man.
that is
The road you can go down with podcasting is bizarre.
exactly.
So
Yeah, because some of the even of the U.S. founding fathers saw him as a prototype of the ideal leader, a benevolent imperialist guided by natural law and higher order.
yeah,
He's also, there are fringe theories that he may have descended or from or intermarried with Nephilim or Atlantean bloodlines. There we go. There we go.
it
Look at that.
sounds like Gary Wayne needs to get
Tying
on the
back into the
the.
Nephilim. Yes. I need to ask Gary Wayne about Cyrus the Great then as well. See where that
Yes, for
ties in.
sure. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Bennett, I think we're winding this up here. I
I
don't
think
know
we
if
are.
there's
I apologize, but it's
no,
one of
no.
those things like the the evidence is the evidence,
It is what it is.
or
Yeah,
the
there's only so much you
information's
can
the
talk about it.
information, right?
Yeah.
And seriously, like, I mean, we could talk about ceremony and stuff like that, but it's like, is it even going to happen?
Yes, you kind of told us what the purpose is. It's for this
Right.
purification, which is interesting. Especially that one movie that I was talking about. It just it's almost in lockstep with it. How
Yeah,
they do it.
absolutely. And, but it's all like, I, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but it's like
No,
some of we get into so many semantics with Jewish law, and it's very contradictive in a lot of spaces as well. So, and this is, let's not parse words. This is a Jewish thing, this red heifer. It's not a Christian thing. It's not necessary because we've already had the ultimate sacrifice from Jesus.
Exactly.
That this is all a moot point. And the bottom line is, in my opinion, my humble opinion, this is all unnecessary. But some people don't see Jesus as the Messiah, so they
need
missed the
to-
boat.
Yeah, fair enough.
They'll get it on the backside, maybe.
Yeah, it's almost like, it almost feels like we're being played by a well-written script. You know, it's kind of like, this is all scripted, that we need to follow this. It's kind of like, this is the order that we
Yeah.
need to follow. But it's kind of like, no, we don't. No, we
I kind of
don't.
look at it as a distraction, and another thing that the red heifer is actually a red herring.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
And
That's
maybe
a
that
great
should be
way.
the title of the episode. The red heifer is a red herring. That's my opinion.
Done.
My
That's
opinion.
it. That is it. All right, Bennett. Well, thank you so much. And, you know, give yourself a shout out once more. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Yeah. So Bennet Tanton, Broadcasting Seeds podcast. And I've actually got a website now, broadcastingseeds.com, and you could find basically anything that I do there. We've got some things coming up. I'm not going to get crazy with it, but, cause they're not real yet. They are, but they're not out yet. So
Okay.
I don't want to jinx anything.
You're going to tease something a little bit, but then
Right.
just leave it there. Pull back.
Right. But yeah, so that's probably the best place to find me is broadcastingseeds.com, and of course on all the social stuff and all those things.
All right. Bennett, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. That was Bennett. And, you know, from ancient ashes, we talked about, you know, to modern agendas, the red heifer really just stands at the crossroads of prophecy and propaganda. Is kind of what's happening with that. Now, it's hooves deep in both scripture and suspicion. Again, big thanks to Bennett from Broadcasting Seeds for planting some seriously eye-opening insights tonight. You know, whether you believe in divine timelines or just keeping your third eye peeled for geopolitical theater, one thing's for sure, nothing sacred is ever just sacred. So until next time, everyone, keep your curiosity wandering, keep the light lit, and always find your way home.
Beneath the stars where shadows grow, the Nephilim's echoes whisper low. Bigfoot roams through the forest deep, and Dogman prowls where the brave won't sleep. Across lost history we wonder why, seeking the truth that time tried to hide. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is the light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come, and always find your way back home. UFOs streak through the velvet skies, aliens watch with unblinking eyes. The paranormal hums where silence breaks, in the void of secrets a lantern wakes. Through hidden realms and stories untold, the Codex flame is a light to hold. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit, through the darkness don't ever quit. quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back home. Legends rise from the Earth's deep core, a lost legacy we can't ignore. With every step, the veil grows thin, revealing worlds where the strange begins. Keep your curiosities wandering and the light lit. Through the darkness, don't ever quit. In the Codex, the mysteries come and always find your way back home.